love that, do you? I think that's just wonderful. It sets the stage for anything, and I hope you're ready for what I'm going to give you today. and I'm going to start it off this way by telling you that the most dangerous question that you can ever ask another person is, how are you? and you know what? Your answer 94% of the time is going to be, I'm sick, I'm poor, I'm unhappy, I'm discouraged. And you need a counter for that. So usually I just say to that person, well, change your thought. Yeah. Or get out of that rut by seeing the good. That didn't work, does it? Well, I had to think of something else. But even after that, if it did work, and they took it for granted that I knew what I was talking about, which is not very often, you understand. They would say to me, well, how can I do such a thing as that? That's the way I am. And I don't know any way to change how I am. Now, I can't think of anything pleasant to say or do. And one of the things that some of them say to me is, you've got it made. Yeah, you do. You got it made. But I'm really suffering. I'm really, put upon. I'm disliked and lonely and sick. You can have your own word. But it goes on and on. Sometimes you even get an organ recital. It's okay. But I want to tell you, if somebody asks you how you are, I don't want you to answer in that way at all. Because you know and I know that each one of us has to learn how to be happy, harmonious, healthy, and prosperous right here, right now, under whatever condition we find ourselves in. Now it's time to learn that so long as we say, I can't, God won't. As long as you say, I can't, God won't. It's time to really understand that when we speak the truth, that God is omnipotent, what we're really saying is, God can. And the desire of God is to do it for you, through you. In fact, I think that's the only way it works. God will do it for you, through you. If there's any other place, I'd say, well, we ought to say hallelujah or something, amen, right there. but we'll let it go for right now. Because it's time that each of us dares to be faithful. Now, to be faithful means that we're going to dare to claim God as our Father, Mother. That we're going to rely on God and lean on God. We're going to cast aside any kind of limited thoughts we may hold, and we're going to know God and thank God even when worldly affairs seem to be the reverse of that. I told you it's going to be hard. That's the way it is. And then we've got to trust God in every circumstance and condition. And by the way, you must also put God to the test in all of your affairs. Now you can say that to somebody, and they'll say, I'd love to do that, but I don't know how. I'd love to have God come down here and do all kinds of things for me. He's awful high up there, and he has a long trip down here, but I would like for him to do that. And you can say, well, I'll just tell you my own experience with this. I've dealt with a lot of people that think that faith is wonderful, and they greatly admire it in other people, but they feel they just don't have it within their own selves, and so they know that they're not going to be able to make any kind of progress at all. And you know what? That arises in part from the misconception of what faith really is. Now, I'm going to tell you, we trust people. Well, some people. And we trust some institutions. We believe in some doctrines and creeds. We believe in it, but we cannot faith. You cannot faith. Action's got to be added before faith is. Because you got to have faith in. You got to have faith as an exercise. You need to trust and believe in your own self. And I hope you recognize by now that every one of those activities is an activity of your mind. And if you're just trusting or you're just believing, then that trust and belief is subject to change at any moment when conditions change. But I'm going to tell you another thing, that faith is a state of being in mind and feeling, and it is a divine law that can never be subject to change. The only question is the extent to which we're going to use the faith we have been given. Because that's going to determine our worldly condition. And it's never going to be a case of having no faith or being without faith. The only condition that exists is that we do not exercise the faith that we have to the full extent. And to find the truth of that, you see that faith is the promise of God. And to the extent that we accept that promise, we are we're prosperous, healthy, all those things. To that extent. I want you to think about a promise of God. Promise is a positive assurance of an event, circumstance, or situation. A promise is always made beforehand. It's given that we may know that something not seen may be utterly relied upon to come into manifestation in your own life. How does that fit with Paul's statement? Remember in Hebrews 11, he said, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So my friends, faith is a promise of God to you. And you are fully filled with it right now and have been and will be for the entirety of your life. But if it's to come into being, if you're going to use it in your life, the first thing you have to do is to accept that faith. You accept it. I can hear somebody out there saying, oh boy. Accept it. I've been trying to accept faith for a long time, but I'll tell you what, I still hurt. Yeah. Look, I trusted God, and I did a lot of good for a lot of people, but look at me. Oh, wretched wretch that I am. But the question is, have you truly relied on God? Or have you only tried to use God as a sort of a talisman or a charm to protect you from the world? How can you truly accept the faith of God when you also need an outside thing to prove it to, like the talisman, the rabbit's foot, that sort of thing? You see, on the one hand, you are believing you're protected, and on the other, you're believing that unless you do something else, you're going to be filled with good and evil. And you're going to do that knowing that faith holds only good, never any of that other stuff. So as long as your heart gives room to evil, your affairs become susceptible to that appearance. Now, the less room you give to evil in your life, the less susceptible you are to error thinking. Also, you become greater in the use of the power of God in your life. It's as Jesus said in Mark, and it's other places, but this is the one I'm going to use. This is Mark 11, 12 through 14, and 20 through 26. On the following day, when they came from Bethany, he, meaning Jesus, was hungry. And seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to see if he could see anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. And he said to it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And the disciples heard it. And then as they passed by in the morning, they saw the fig tree withered away to its roots. And Peter remembered and said to him, "Master, look, the fig tree which you cursed has withered." And Jesus answered them, "Have faith in God. Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, 'Be taken up and cast into the sea,' and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you receive it, and you will. And whenever you stand praying, forgive, if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father, who also is in heaven, may forgive you your trespasses." This is a demonstration of the power of faith at work. I know it's just a worthless thing and it got blotted out. But some people sometimes get so hung up on that poor old fig tree getting zapped that they cannot get the point. But I'm going to tell you that the idea is spiritually sound. When you have an idea or a belief or a thing or a relationship that is absolutely fruitless, it's doing nothing for you, it's just taking up space in your mind, when you got that, then it is absolutely mandatory that you cause it to wither, that thing, that idea, that concept. And you want to turn from pity for that worthless thing and exercise faith that you yourself may then find the true source, the unlimited source of the fruit of life. So what does that illustrate for each of us? Well, it says to you, you can change your thoughts and you can then change your lives. We do not have to keep a worthless thing or idea alive just because it's there. We can kill that sucker. And more than that, we can make room for more fruitful ideas and demonstrations without limitation. Now, it also illustrates that even when in our best intention and trust, we raise a fruitless demonstration. None of you have ever done that, I feel sure. I know that I have many times. I thought, boy, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be the greatest thing that ever walked, and there it is. It's nothing. And there it stands in the face. Well, what do you do about that? Do you moan and groan for the rest of your life that you failed at that? That it didn't work out the way you wanted it to work out? No, that's not it at all. You cause it to wither. You zap it, get rid of it. Now be careful. I'm not saying that you're not responsible for setting right your errors to the greatest extent possible that you can. You got to do that, even if the demonstration was of your own planting. Like Jesus didn't plant that fig tree, but it was worthless. So he said, got to zap it. And we got to also clear our consciousness of any negative aspect. Remember he said, and whenever you stand praying, forgive. Prayer without forgiveness is not prayer that's going to work very well, because they're cross purposes with each other. So what you need to do is to clear your mind, that is your consciousness, and remember only that which comes into your mind that can be experienced. And then that experience is not going to take place unless there's something in your consciousness to which it can attach itself. Memories sometimes attach themselves, don't they? And when they attach themselves, they attach the feelings that go with them. Any of you ever had one of those? Oh my goodness. Yes, indeed. So, complete acceptance of faith is the means by which you wipe away any of that sticky stuff that your negative experiences have been able to stick to. You slick it up and slick them out. So, ask yourself about your present condition. We're going to get out in time for the Calvary game. When we compare our desire for perfect good and health and prosperity to that which is in the outer world, it's hard not to dwell on what appears to be missing. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if those Afghanis would get together, or those Egyptians would get together, or the Democrats and Republicans would, that sort of thing. Wouldn't it be nice? And sometimes we dwell on that and we get all excited and bent out of shape. But I got to tell you, that's not exercising faith at all, because the true teaching of faith is, quote, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. You're not going to ask for trouble. You're not going to ask that the squabbles continue. You're going to ask for peace, prosperity, health, and good living, right? Okay. Now remember that in this saying, Jesus said, believe that you have received it. That's in the present tense, that you have received it. And you have. No doubt about it. It's yours. And the truth of that can be found in the simple idea that we have received from the very beginning all there is of God. We are in truth made in the image and likeness of God. A God who is omnipotent, that is, a God who can. A God who is omnipresent, that is, who is the supply that we use in this world. And a God who knows, or who is omniscient, and who simply knows everything there is to know. Did you know that every one of us can share in an unlimited supply to satisfy any desire? That we have unlimited ability to call forth that supply for use in this world? And that every one of us has the intelligence to know how and when to use that substance? Oh yeah, we've received that. It's stored up there. Every one of us got it. We got it. Oh yeah. But the problem is, it's fruitless unless we use it. And that's our role, isn't it? To be the manifest extension of God in producing and experiencing the wondrous and unlimited varieties of good that this world offers to us. Charles Fillmore defined faith as, quote, the perceiving power of the mind linked with the power to shape substance, the deep inner knowing that which is sought is already ours for the taking, unquote. He also said to have faith in God is to have the faith of God as our Father and source of all the good we desire. And he says faith simply works by love. By love. So, why don't we all get together and dare to be faithful, be full of faith, to cooperate with the creative, that law that withers fruitless condemnation, fear, and it brings forth the miraculous fruits of love, joy, peace, health, prosperity, and harmony. Why don't we be as that old blind man was? We find this in Matthew the 9th chapter, the 27th verse. And as Jesus passed on from there, two blind men followed him, crying aloud, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." When he entered the house, the blind men came to him, and Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I'm able to do this?" And they said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, be it done to you." And their eyes were opened. And Jesus sternly charged them, "See that no one knows it." But they went away and spread his fame throughout the district. So what we're saying here is just be faithful, so that in our spiritual blindness we can cry out to the Christ, "Have mercy on us." And to know that the Christ will touch our inner eyes and they will be opened. Our challenge in this Advent season is to simply continue to discover and experience the path. That path where we only know good. That there is no evil. Because there's only good as far as God is concerned, and therefore as far as we should be concerned. And when you have your faith filled, you are faithful. Can't be any better condition than that. Bless you, each and every one.